Creativity Cocktail and the Rising Tides Charity. Today is a wonderful day. We are able to bring back Ivory Shields, who is now a certified member of the team, to talk about a topic that we all can relate to. We all can relate to this topic. So, Ivory, welcome, welcome, welcome once again.
Yay! A little round of applause.
Sorry, it's cheering, the sound effects, all of that happen. So for those of you who see the version that will be a donation opportunity, you'll see great sound effects like cheering and all of that happens. So that has been awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me back, Winston. Always a pleasure. Happy to be back, and this is going to be great, as per usual.
That is so wonderful. For those of you out there, the Rising Tides charity was started a couple of years ago as an opportunity for us all creatives to have a voice. And so we started off with a very successful podcast that has been broadcast all over the world. And that podcast is over 110 episodes. And it's called the Creativity Cocktail, where we mix up all of the dopeness of all of the human beings that are out there and we get us all to talk about our voice. In 2022, we have taken that to another level where we'll be talking about Kiana's voice. And sometimes a lot of people ask me, like, who is Kiana? And so Kiana Janis Roche was a and is a wonderful creative that left this earth too soon. She left this earth almost 10 years ago. And once she departed the plane, we were able to unearth dozens of wonderful pieces of creative poetry and artwork that she didn't get to share with the entire world. So in talking with her mom, we she mentioned Kiana's voice to me probably 5 years ago. And I took a note of it. And then as I was talking about Rising Tides charity for this year, we said, why don't we do something that will not just memorialize what she's done, but also help a person out there to find their own voice. So every donation that you give to Kiana's voice will be towards the recipient of an award for a technology suite that can help someone. So they'll be able to get all the stuff you see, all the stuff you hear about today, computer, software, camera, all of those things that can help a person be successful, writing software, all of those things, as well as the acumen of all of the team, including Ivory, myself, and all of the wonderful team that we have here at the Rising Tides charity. So please donate. We've got a goal of getting $5,000 between now and the end of the year. I know you can do it. I know you can help us get to that point. So thank you so much for joining or being part of that, because it's going to be great. I am so looking forward to that in November, Ivory. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
It is going to be amazing, and I'm so honored to be a part of this mission, to be a part of this. To be a part of putting Kiana's voice out there, to be her voice. I'm honored to be a part of that. You know, what really the thing that really resonated with me with Kiana's story was that her, like so many other creatives living in this world where creativity and being an artist is just now kind of being celebrated more. But I don't know that I can't say that it's one of those areas of life that is really celebrated a lot unless it looks a certain way.
That's right.
And so, um, it's so unfortunate when you have so many people, young people, old people, white, black, men, women, who can't express themselves. And we all express ourselves in different ways. And for some of us, it's poetry. Some of us, it's writing. Some of us, it's painting. Some of us, it's acting. Some of us, it's singing. It's writing music. And it's really and so my mission is to encourage, and it's always been to encourage people to live authentically as possible and be you unapologetically. and follow those desires that you have deep down inside of you, because that is God's love attempting to flow through you. Kiana's voice and all of the writings and the poetry and the things that she left behind, that is simply God's voice, God's love that needed to be that will be now shared with the world.
Yeah. Uh, Thank you. I think about us as creatives when we're creating something, even if it's creating a wonderful relationship with someone, there is an opportunity, or the Spirit, the Holy Spirit is inside of us, and it's
Indeed.
helping us to make sure that we're doing something that's fruitful. So thank you so much for your comments. So thank you all for being part of this. It's going, as always, Ivory and I, we talk about stuff that's real, and today we're talking about a real topic that affects every single person on the earth, one way or the other. Whether you are the person that's directly impacted by it or you know someone, you know it. And this is around healing from childhood trauma specifically. And then how do you make sure that it helps you to thrive in your life going forward? So Ivory's going to share with us at least a few ways that we can think about how do we do this and how do we get past it? Because it's a journey. I would imagine you're going to say it's a journey that you've got to go through to get to that point. And so this is so cool and tough and authentic all at the same time. So if you listen to us now or later, please make sure you share your comments on this, because this is something that's affects us all. So Ivory, the first thing when someone has come to you, and I know you this is part of your livelihood and your life, where you've had people come to you, I'm dealing with trauma. I need to start healing. I know there's probably a myriad of paths that you can take them down. What is like one of the first things you might talk to them about?
Well, it's funny, most people won't come and say they have trauma. Most people don't even know that they've experienced trauma. And so, and that is a part of the biggest problem here in the healing journey and just our human experience. Because many people don't realize it, and especially if you don't talk about it in our communities, it's not really talked about. It's talked about more now since 2020,
Mhm.
um, which is wonderful, which is great, but we're just getting started with it. And so we still have so far to go. But what most people will show up and say is that they feel stuck. They feel stuck and they want to do something different, but they don't know what it is. They don't know how to take the first step, or they're feeling um, they're feeling like they are not living up to their full potential. They feel like something is blocking them. And generally, well, of course, we know it's yourself that's blocking you.
Yeah.
So one of the first, some of the first series of questions that I begin to ask people is, who are you? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you want? And then I'll begin to ask about the childhood. What was your childhood like? Did you grow up in a two-parent home, or did you grow up in a single parent family home? Did you experience abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse? Did you have to like walk on eggshells with one of your parents because you didn't know if they were going to have some sort of verbal outburst? You didn't know if you were going to come home and they would be sad. You didn't know if you were going to come home and they would be um, uh, detached and not talk. So, all of those examples are emotional abuse, and not intentional on the parent, but the byproduct is emotional abuse on the child.
Yeah. Your comment about something that you don't even know sometimes that I've heard resonates with me. Uh, I am not a young person by any stretch, but for a long period of time, I did not know how my childhood affected me. I just kept going, kept doing things in life. Well, whatever, I'm just going to do this. I grew up in a place where you just overcame things and you just kept going. But
Mhm.
as I've had a chance to reflect back and start to see things as they were, there was definitely some specific trauma that I encountered that even my own siblings didn't encounter. When you talk about physical abuse and those kind of things, those
Mhm.
things are real. Those things are scarring. I was
Mhm.
having a conversation with a family member, and they were remarking like, "Oh, Winston, you're so much different than when you were a kid. When you were a kid, you were so reserved and shy and all of these things. You're like, you're out there going out speaking, talking, doing all of these things now. You're doing all of this stuff." And I just thought it was just me just doing these things. And then I realized that it was the abuse, me overcoming that abuse. And then as I was talking, I was saying, I don't think this person really knows me. One of the questions you asked about, do you really know you? I don't think these, sometimes even our closest people in our life, I don't know if they know us.
Mhm.
I don't know if they really know us. They know what they see of us,
Sure.
but do they know what we've gone through? And sometimes I
Mhm.
don't think they do. I don't think they do.
Mhm. No, and it's funny you say that with I was thinking of God, so many things. Um and I think it's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for a lot of people sometimes to read us if we don't know ourselves, because we've suppressed the true person of who we are, the real and authentic version of ourselves. And so we go out into the world and maybe there's some ambiguity there, maybe there's just like inconsistency in how you show up and it just doesn't make sense to people. But
Mhm.
you talked about being shy. I'll share my own story of being an overweight child. So I went from being like this kid in school who's just like, okay, first of all, before I even tell the story, you all know me. I like to talk. I'm opinionated. I like to say how I feel. That's just me. And so as a child, it I remember like kindergarten and first grade, second grade, I was that child just always raising my hand, always talking and had all the answers. So much so the teacher would be like, they call me by my first name, Marlika, give the other kids a chance to answer. And I'm like, but
What
they're
was it? Say that
cool.
again. What was it?
Marlika, Marlika,
One more time.
Marlika.
Marlika. Oh my gosh. I've
Yeah.
known you forever and I did not know that.
Yeah, don't ever, 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 ever call me by that, y'all. Okay, so y'all just learned something about me. So that's okay. So anyway, I was that child, and then I gained all of this weight for other reasons that I may get a chance to go into on this particular episode. But I gained all of this weight, and so I was a chubby kid. I was really, really chubby, and it went from no talking, because I knew that if I raised my hand and asked a question or made a comment or anything, I was going to be picked on. There was going to be some kind of fat joke that would be blurted out, and the whole class would be laughing at me. So, it went from that. And then it just me shutting down and not talking and being quote unquote shy. And that's not my general nature, to be shy. But having that experience as a young child shaped that in me. But then as I became an adult, it's like this person, this voice is just fighting to come out.
That's true.
But oh my God, if it comes out, if I speak up, in my brain, I'm going back to the little me, like, oh, I might get ridiculed. I might get, embarrassed. Everybody in the room may laugh at me. Knowing, if I'm doing some cognitive behavioral therapy and I'm really talking myself through and like, Ivory, that's really not going to happen. These are grown people. These are all adults, professional adults in the room. That's not going to happen.
Right.
You are free to give your opinion and speak up for yourself. So that is a way that childhood trauma can manifest itself in your professional life as an adult.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I would say at the early part of my professional life, the vestiges of that growing up because I was the same way. You know, when they'd line the kids up, by size height back
Yeah.
when we were kids. Guess who was number two or number three? I am much taller now than I was then, but I was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. And I was unbelievably overweight. Um, and this is one that doesn't get talked about a lot. But growing up, I had to deal with a lot of people at me because of the complexion of my skin.
Yes.
So everyone in my family is darker skinned, and I was the lighter skin. I was 5 times lighter than I am today, and I used to have to deal with this a lot growing up. And it didn't seem it seemed weird to me with people saying, "Well, you're not black because you don't look it," and I was like, "Wait a minute, have you ever seen my mom and dad?" like,
Right.
it's just whatever. And there were so many bits and pieces. I think that kids get affected. And then I think this one comment about childhood trauma today. We have almost every child in America and mostly in the world that has gone through a trauma over the last 2 years. They just have. And,
Without a doubt.
and we've got to be there for them.
Absolutely. 1,000%. It's interesting because I also dealt with the skin complexion thing, not being black enough, but you're not white. It's like where you fit in,
That's right.
you know. And so that's another thing. Kids are kids.
Yeah.
Kids are kids. They don't, especially if they don't have a certain amount of, if they have parents who are not emotionally intelligent enough to talk to them about certain things. And even when you do have parents who do educate you, who do tell their children about whatever the different dynamics that
Mm.
we experience as humans, whether it's someone being overweight, whether it's someone's skin complexion, whether it's how short, whatever it is, just the different things that we have to deal with as people, and teaching your kids about being kind. um, so kids are going to be kids are going to say things, but as a child, you just want to fit in.
Yeah.
You don't want to be an outcast. You don't want to be different as a kid.
Yeah. I was telling the story that there was a guy that you consider people would consider him a bully to me because he was bigger and taller, and he actually became a friend of mine when I was going to school. And at first, we had this adversarial thing. It's like, let me pick on you. You guys are poor because you have to pay for lunch. I don't know why that seems so illogical to me, but anyway. Um, uh, and then I had a chance to go to his home, which was down and around the corner from where we lived. Must have been 5 years old. I was in Brooklyn at the time, and I went to his home, and his home was dilapidated,
Mm,
and he was sleeping like on a thing, like on a mattress kind of thing on the floor. All of the walls were black and all of that. And
mm,
in my own little brain, something in me told me like, "Hey, Norris is not mad at you. Like
mm,
he's doing these things. He's just struggling. Period.
mm.
He's just struggling in life." And
Right.
and that's something that lingers with us for a long period of time. So when you think about it, so after you have this conversation, this initial conversation, and you talk to this person, you get a little bit of discovery with them, and they respond back, say, "Hey, Ivory, this was my life. This is what occurred. This is some of the things that I'm dealing with." What do you share with them at that point?
Well, at that point, it's a matter of getting them back to themselves, because a lot of people will show up and they don't even realize there's they don't realize that their self-sabotaging behaviors are a direct result of the fact that they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. They don't know their gifts. They don't know their superpowers. And so, if you don't know those things, you can't appreciate those things about yourself. When you know what you're good at, when you know what you're not so good at, or the areas of the areas in your life that have opportunity for improvement, when you know those things, specifically that, no one can use that against you. No one can weaponize that against you. So you can show up more authentically. You can
That's
show up in your power. So when someone throws a dart at you about your weaknesses, you already got that under control. You already know you're working on that. So no one can really use that against you. But if you show up knowing exactly who you are, what you have to offer, what your gifts are, what you're good at, what you're, and I'm rethinking my philosophy, or my view around purpose. But I do think that we all have a specific purpose or a specific wheelhouse. And so when you know that particular purpose, um, you you understand your value. You understand your value, and you don't allow people in your, and so then we get to the point where it's like, okay, you know your values, you know you know you're valuable, you know who you are, you know what you're worth. And so then that next step will be, okay, owning that and truly accepting that. So self acceptance, there's the first step is self awareness. The next step, my program is self acceptance. And so that self acceptance comes with really taking inventory of all of you, keeping and really embracing the beautiful things that you love about you, and the things that you feel, okay, that I don't really like that so much about me. So, you know, let me see how I can massage that into something that's a little bit more digestible for me, that still makes me feel good about me, a way that I can still infuse it and incorporate it and integrate it into who I am. Because, there are certain things about us that, I'll give you an example. Like, for some people, it may not be a great characteristic, but for other people, it's wonderful. So, an example of that would be a person. This is just an example, no judgment on anyone. No, I want to make sure, no judgment. Someone who like wants to be really, 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 really wealthy, like really loves money. I don't think it's anything wrong with that. But some people will think that something is wrong with that, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
if that's something that you may not feel great about or whatever, figuring out how to massage that and infuse that into who you are, and be okay with it. And the reason I say I don't think it's anything wrong with it, because money has to be made in this world. We're in a world where money is something that we need, period.
That's right.
And so, we can't all want the same things. There's almost 8 billion people on this planet. We can't all want the same thing. We can't all be doing the same thing at the same time. It's just impossible. We think it's chaotic now. Imagine we all wanted the same thing. People will hit you over the head for a dang on pair of glasses if we all
That's
need,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's like we all want different things. And so you take inventory, and you let go of the things that don't serve you, and the things that may not be so great, they're still you. So
Yeah.
find out, how do we infuse and how do we massage them and incorporate them into who we are, so that you still hold on to the true essence of you.
Yeah. That is, when we were talking earlier, we were talking about, before the show started, we were talking about stuff and how much stuff we all accumulate in life. I mean, physical stuff. and how the more things we accumulate, the more stuff it actually encumbers our brain. The more things that we have. If you have more stuff, then you have more things to maintain, or more things to think about, or more pieces of places to store it. All
Mhm.
of these things happen when we have too many things that are going in our head at the same time. I think I shared the stats like 300. Everybody in our house has 300,000 items.
That's
And,
mind
and,
boggling.
and I am sure that despite my culling and recycling and giving away stuff, I'm sure that I'm still got too much stuff. And and that is so important for us to think about on that healing journey. I shared with you the story. I had these suits that were from a different time in my life, at a different size. I can't move forward. We can't move forward, everyone, if I held on to them suits when I weighed an extra 100 pounds. I can't. I can't. Like, how? Why do I got them suits anymore? That don't make sense. That I keep them suits as some kind of. It's almost like looking to try to get. If I get back, I'm okay to that. But that's not life anymore. Life is constantly moving forward. You mentioned about purpose, and I had a chance to listen to a pastor this week. I went to a funeral of a person you and I both interviewed a number of years ago, and the pastor said that a passion plus purpose gives you power.
Mm,
And he said a lot of great things, but I remember that so clearly. I've never seen that kind of framework. Passion plus purpose gives us power,
absolutely.
you know. And I was like, now that is something everyone can recall because that's how that person lived their life. They
Hmm.
lived their life based on the passion that they had for what they did. And the cool thing, I think, for you and I, and for anyone that's listening, is that it's never too late to start this healing journey.
No.
I know people that are my age in life, and they're like, "Nah, I can't. Forget it." They're only thinking about the end versus what more they have to offer, and that is the important thing to think about. What do we have to offer? So whether you're 14 or 64, you have, you have an opportunity to heal because when you are not healing, you do things for others. I read somewhere or heard somewhere that hurt people hurt. And so if you're not on the path to healing, you are hurting somebody.
You sure are.
You may not know who it is, or you may know but don't care. And you think that, oh, well, this is the way I'm dealing with it. Or you might be hurting yourself. Every single one of us know people who've got vices that they deal with.
Hmm.
The list of vices that exist is just so lengthy that no one could say it. But they
Hmm.
exist and they are impactful to every single one of us. You know, um,
The beautiful thing about what you said is it's never too late to start. And the truth about a healing journey, it's a lifestyle. It's not we're never if you've been traumatized and if you've experienced something that has changed who you truly are, the core, the essence of you, how you operate, if you've experienced something that has changed you in that way, and changed you in a way where you are not yourself, you are not being your authentic self, you are not fully expressing yourself, you are not making choices that are in line with your desires.
right.
That is equivalent to a traumatic experience, because I think a lot of people get caught up on the word trauma, trauma, trauma. Oh, that didn't happen to me, or
Mhm.
anything that has altered how you perceive the world and how you go about the choices that you make, that inhibit or suppress your authentic essence or what you truly want. Um, it's a lifestyle to go through the process of healing, of getting back to your true essence and doing things and making choices that are in line with your true essence and your true desires. It is a lifestyle. and it is a process. And it's not like you're gonna, you know, do this one thing and then, oh, I'm good, I'm healed, and I'm ready to go. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way
Yeah.
because we are evolving individual creature spirits.
Yes.
We're souls that are evolving in these lifetimes.
Do you do anything like in a regimen that kind of helps you along the path? Like, for example, myself, I journal for the last 25 years every single day. And I write 10 plus things that I'm grateful for every day. And that
Mhm.
puts me in the right mindset for the day, knowing that I still have trauma to heal from. And I try to do those things. I exercise every single day, whether it's at 11 o'clock at night or 11 a.m. in the morning. And these things help that journey.
Yeah,
Is there anything like that that you do?
definitely. I have been journaling. I used to journal every single day, but I journal twice a week. Twice a week is kind of my average, but I definitely journal. That is super. That is one of my most effective ways of seeing my progress, because what you're able to do when you journal, especially when you're going through something, and I don't just journal when I'm going through something. I journal when I'm just based, neutral or
Mm.
whatever. When I'm happy, when I'm not so happy, when I'm going through something, and I get to look back and reflect and see how I've grown, and see how, okay, how maybe I see something differently than I did back then. Even, and it could have even been my own fault where I just didn't see it at that time. And so where I am now, I'm able to look back and like, yeah, that I could have done something different there. I could have saw that differently. So I definitely journal. I also I meditate. I meditate daily. And I do affirmations. And I have, one of the things that I do that I think people, I wish it wouldn't. I wish the stigma, and the stigma is going away, but there's still a big stigma out there. I wish the stigma would go away for this. But I talk to myself. I talk to, and I'm not just talking to myself, I'm talking to the ancestors, I'm talking to my spirit guides.
That's
We
right.
have a morning meeting, okay? All of us, spirit, subconscious. We do roll call in the morning. Ancestors, spirit guides, angels, subconscious. I need all y'all here this morning. Thank you for coming. We have a morning meeting.
That's awesome.
Let's
That,
be on the same page every day.
that is so awesome to talk to. You're right, because I shared with someone recently. They were talking to me about they were in some meeting and somebody that they thought was just like an even keel person was just going off about something, and they thought they were addressing it to them. And I was like, I don't think it's about you. I think it's something going on with them. Ain't got nothing to do with you.
Right.
Well, and if you respond back in kind to whatever that was, then what you're just doing is like you're perpetuating the energy
Mm-hmm.
of that,
Mm-hmm.
and you gotta squash the energy.
Absolutely.
You can't let that energy take you over. It
Mm-mm.
is so easy for us,
Excuse me.
so easy for us to feel the energy of negativity. So we got a great comment here from Tamina Ward, one of our team
Yeah,
members here. Yes, having conversations with yourself is a great way to keep grounded and pull yourself out of negative thinking.
absolutely. 1000%,
That
sis.
is that
1000%.
is such an amazing comment. You know,
Yeah,
I always reference a book that I read a few years ago, and it's a little bit of an academic read for most of us, but it's called Mindset by a lady named Carol Dweck. And inside of that, she talks about the fixed and the growth mindset. And a growth mindset is what you described, Ivory, that when stuff happens, because it's going to happen, there is no doubt about it. Something's going to happen in life. So that we take this as an opportunity to grow, learn, find a way to support or love someone? Or do we get into this fixed mindset that we probably hear in our lives? Well, I'm just trying to be realistic. Well, that ain't gonna work. Oh, why is that?
Mm,
How much time does that take? All of those fixed mindset things that we hear every
mhm,
single day, as opposed to saying, well, shoot, that didn't work, but I learned something from it.
mhm.
I learned how to be better at this or better at that. Or who should I get help with on the situation?
Exactly. Or, okay, that didn't produce the outcome that I was wanting, or I had expected, or I was looking for. Okay, let me try to do something different. Let me think of it's like, let me think of something different. I'm starting to and this is something new that I've known it, that we create our realities, right? And so I don't know what it is. I'm expanding. We're evolving. I'm not going to be the same Ivory I am today next year this time. But I'm doing this new thing now where it's really forcing me not to think negatively when I'm out and about and I see something I don't like or I experience something I don't like. I stop myself and I say, okay, I know that I created this. No matter how bad and wretched it looks or whatever, okay, I created this. Not exactly what I was expecting. Okay. So let me go back and try to think different so
Mhm.
that I can create something more on the lines of what I expect.
Yeah, it is so difficult. Even last night, I went to a Good Friday service at my church. Wonderful service. So I'm leaving out of the parking lot. So I get in my car to go to the parking lot, and some security lady yells at me, says, "No, go around here, go, because it's fast. Go as fast as it's going." I was like, and all of a sudden, I had like an out experience. No, I'm not going out because I need to go down Piedmont Road and I need to go here. And I'm like, why am I yelling at this lady? Like, I just came out of this wonderful service. So I,
Just came out of church.
I was like, why am I yelling at this lady? And I was like, what is going on? I have to catch myself. We all
Mhm.
have to catch ourselves when stuff like that happens. We've got to say to ourselves, man, I can't be that person anymore. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? This poor lady is probably just trying to do her job, even though she was telling me something that to me didn't make sense. And next thing you know,
Mhm.
I'm going in this situation. I'm sure many of us encounter this daily, all throughout our lives. We get perturbed about so many things, and it's the negative things is not like it used to be. Like you and I could just have a conversation, we just see somebody and that's negative. Now the negativity is creeping in different places that it didn't exist before. As soon as
Mhm.
we turn on our phone, there may be some negative message inside of it, whether it's one of these messaging apps or one of these social media apps or our email or our voicemail. There's all these opportunities. So we have to be sturdy around
Yeah.
this kind of thing.
And we have to be mindful and we have to understand, the third thing. So first thing I work on with my clients is self-acceptance and getting clear about what you want. And, the, at, I'll go back to the self-awareness. I'm sorry, self-awareness and getting clear about what you want. And, with that, like I said, talk to yourself, ask yourself questions, just the same questions you would ask. If you did an interview, watch some interviews and look at the questions that they ask the person they're interviewing. Ask yourself those same questions. Ask yourself questions and answer them. No one knows you better than you but you. You are with you 24/8. And so you know you better than anyone else.
That's exactly right.
If you ask yourself the answers will come. And so the second thing is the self-acceptance. What we talked about is really taking inventory of, okay, what do I love? What do I really want to showcase more of? What do I want to exude more of? And what are the things that, okay, maybe we can get rid of these things. Maybe we can tweak these things, the things about me that, I'm not so that don't really light me up about me, but they're still me and they're still a part of me. And I know that, you know, those parts of me are there for a reason. And so let's explore that, and how can I integrate them into the full essence of me. And then the third thing is understanding the science of the mind. And so we all get a brain, right? We're all born with a brain, and we all have a mind, a conscious mind. And the beautiful thing about the conscious mind, and the beautiful gift that God's Spirit gave us, is free will. And we have the power, the ability to do whatever. Oh, let me back up. Sorry. The only function of the mind is to think. To think. That's its only job. And the beautiful thing about the mind that God blessed us with, that Spirit blessed us with, that God created us with, is we have free will. And so we have the power to do whatever it is we want to do with our minds, whatever it is we want to do. And when we understand the science of the mind, we understand that our thoughts have power, and our thoughts are a vibration in our experience that's going to create a specific image in front of us. And it really goes back to the science of it, just those basic universal laws that we have here on this earth. And some of the simplest ones, that we've learned in school, which, the basic law of cause and effect. If you click this, it's going to, the pen is gonna, the front of the pen, if you click this, the front of the pen is gonna come out. That's just cause and effect. And gravity, what goes up must come down. Those are just basic universal laws that we've learned, but there are many more higher level, or more dynamic, or more complex, basic universal laws that we can learn, that we can use to create the reality that we want, that we can use to train our minds.
Yeah. That is such a, for those of you listening, I hope you understand that everything that we think about this world, everything is created at least twice. It's created in someone's mind, and then if it's something's manufactured or something that happens, it happens afterwards. That's
Mhm.
kind of the beautiful thing about our minds. And we got to think about that. So you think about the things you might have gone through in your life. Every single one of those things informs you right now. Like what happened in the past, you can't fix that per se, and you don't know what the future's going to hold. But you can work on you right now. You can have your thoughts be right now. You can have that way. That's harder than it sounds, based on what we just said with all of the stimuli vying for our attention. Your comment about meditating is such an important one. And I know a lot of people just say, oh, yeah, I heard about meditation, but whatever. No, meditation is a key thing for us to all think about. And
Mhm.
I think, a lot of times when it comes to meditating and journaling, there's this thing where we're trying to put those things in boxes, saying, well, you need to journal this way, you need to meditate that way, as
Mhm.
opposed to it being what you are doing versus this exact same formula for every single person.
Mhm. And that's the work, and this is why everyone does not go on this journey. But again, this is why everybody can't be doing the same thing
That's
at
right.
the same time.
Yeah.
You
You know,
know.
the time management leadership conversation we had last month ties into this quite a bit, because a lot of people say, well, I don't want to do that. I don't have a productivity system because that's work. I'd rather just let stuff just fly by and I just react and I just do stuff. And, there is I'm sure there's a decent contingent of people who that's how they live their life.
Yeah.
Just like whatever happens, whatever I got in the mail today, whatever's in my inbox is my life. and
Yeah.
that's not the greatest way to live. And it ties into what we're talking about here today, that the healing journey is a journey. You got to be on it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires what you said, the word work. Because
Requires work.
without work, then the journey doesn't start.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can give me your thoughts on this, but it seems like it festers and lingers in our spirit if we don't go on a journey.
Indeed. Um, it it's one of those things where you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision. This kind of work is just like the physical work on your body. The mental work is just like the physical work on the body. If you want to lose 5, you want to lose 10 pounds, you got to do something. You got to either cut back on eating, that's still work. You got to go to the gym and work out, that's still work. You got to fast. Whatever it is, there's work. There are action steps that you have to take in order to lose those 5 pounds. The same thing with your mind and your mental health and wellness. You have to take certain action steps. And you're only going to do it when you make a decision, period. We can talk until we're blue in the face. And I think that, this is a teachable moment for people who are involved with people. They feel like, they want them to change and they want them to do better and they want them to do this work. And one thing that I had to learn on my journey was that I cannot force people to wake up. I can't force people. We cannot force people to go on a journey. People have to want to go on their journey. And the only thing we can do is show up and meet them where they are. And that is by we live authentically and we are mindful of how we respond to them. Because we hear that all the time. You can only control how you respond to another person. And that's very true. We can't force people to do anything, and people and keep in mind that people are reflections of us. So you see something in that person, I want them to change, I want them to do better, I want them, but always remember that's a reflection back at you. There's something about you that's very fixed, so much so that you want to try to fix them.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're so focused on wanting them to change. What about you?
That's exactly right.
What about you being more fluid?
Mhm. Our
You
relationships are so important, and it's part of this, right? You made the comment about you. We've got to be working on ourselves. I see this all the time, especially with those who have friendships and relationships, and it's like, hey, well, I'm trying to fix.
oh, oh no. You have to get it set up. Well, I don't know, maybe.
Oops, I lost you totally.
There we go.
There you go. There you go. This is awesome. So I think I might have
Yeah.
lost your last minute or two on that, but that's cool
Mhm.
because I got your wonderful website up, which is fantastic. This is Ivory Shields' website. So Ivory,
IamSkills.com.
yes, yes. All right, are you there?
Hmm.
All
Can
right,
you
cool.
hear me?
Yep, I can. So tell us a little bit about your website and about your, how people can plug into you.
Yeah, you can find me. I am IvoryShields.com. And get on the emailing list. I'm going to be sending out some free gifts to everyone. I will say, after this month, I will no longer be coaching. I'm just going to focus on the book and putting the book out there and speaking, and doing kind of real time coaching on my podcast and different speaking platforms. But I won't be doing one on one coaching. I'll probably continue doing some master classes, but that's going to be it. So please check us out and subscribe. Get on our email list so that you can stay updated with what's coming down the pipeline.
This is wonderful. What a wonderful website and a wonderful purpose. This
Thank
is
you.
so great. So, for those of you who are out there, I hope you were able to understand and grasp what Ivory was sharing around this being a journey, around each one of us making sure that we own our path. And the one thing that I hope that you get from this, and Ivory, let me know about your comments on this, is that we're not creating traumatic moments for others, or that we're trying to find ways to minimize that for other people. And this really
Mhm.
strikes at the heart of those of us who have friendships, relationships, if we're parents, if we have parents, which we all do, all of those things, we can create traumatic moments if we're not mindful of that. And so we've got to be very thoughtful about that. So,
Mhm.
Ivory, as always, you and I are just, this is, I thank you personally. You've been down with the Rising Tides charity from before we actually had us officially Rising Tides charity. So I thank you
Sure.
for being part of this. And this is, for those of you who are out there, for those who heard us today, thank you for joining. For those of us, you who hear us later on, there's an opportunity to donate. Our goal, as we shared at the top of this, was to really try to raise this amount for a purpose, for this individual, for them to go out and to find their purpose and to link their passion so they can actually create the power in this world. One
Yes.
person at a time. This is not some ambiguous place we say, hey, donate and we'll figure it out later. You know exactly what you're doing when you donate to Kiana's voice. So,
Ashe.
Ivory, thank you so much for what a wonderful, wonderful session.
Yeah.
Please give us some comments for us to help take us out.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure. Always such a dynamic conversation with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being the vessel that you are as well. I just want to leave people with this, and I talked about this earlier on my social medias. um, that desire that is down inside of you, yearning to come out, yearning to be expressed, yearning to get attention, that is God's love. That is love flowing through you. And the only way you can be a great vessel is to deal with your stuff, is to know who you are, is to accept fully who you are and understand how to use your power to fully express God, to fully be a vessel and express and allow God's love to express through you.
That's great. Thank you so much. For those of you, we have a full slate of amazing topics as we get close to Kiana's voice at the end of this year. The next one will be with Cornelius Jefferson, where he will be doing his second conversation around acting. And for those of you who are actors or who desire to be an actor, you're going to love that.
Mm,
That Paxson will be talking about freelancing. Freelancing is the way he's taken his life as a graphic designer and become super successful at it.
love it.
You know,
Love him.
yes, he is fantastic. Gina Jackson will be talking about Black History Month in July. She's a Black history educator out in San Diego, and we don't have to wait till February. We can just talk
Oh
about. That's
no.
right. We can talk about it when we want to talk about it.
That Black History Month is every day, baby.
That's exactly right. In August, we're going to do our second annual Tonys, named after Tony Simmons Henson, who's the leader of the Atlanta Black Theater Festival. Both Tamina and Ivory have been part of that. So we're going to do it again. We're going to do it big, and we're hoping that everyone join us. Megan Coker will then talk about roadblocks here in September. And Tamina will be talking about service here in October. You know,
Love it.
and in between there, we got some cool things that are slated for those of you who haven't been following us. We've got Dan Guyton, a good friend, who will be doing writing in June. Then David and I, my brother, will be doing a Juneteenth celebration on June 18th this year, where we're talking about Black businesses. And we'll be inviting some of the businesses that we know to that event. And that'll be obviously a fundraiser, but it'll also be an opportunity for you to hear about some amazing Black businesses that we know of and that you can nominate to be part of that. So just a full, amazing year where we're taking all of our expertise and acumen and pouring it back into our community and into you. So thanks again, Ivy. It's awesome. This is amazing. Look for this everywhere that you are, and this is so great. Thank you for all who joined, and we will talk to you in our next session on the Creativity Cocktail and the Rising Tides Charity.